I think the major thing I've seen is that last year's Finals MVP is kind of having a lackluster year.
That's a little generous, to be honest.
I think the big thing is
Yeah.
Jalen Brown. I've not seen any highlights, moments that we've seen previously. And I think that's the main thing. I think Tatum's doing his best because, of course, it is his team. But I think Jalen Brown is getting a little championship hangover.
That's fair. I mean, when you win a championship, you're playing way longer than everyone else. You're playing up until the middle of June. So you have a shorter turnaround in the off season, and it's guys get banged up the season after winning a championship. I think he's missed some games due to injury, everything like that. And it's normal. That's why we see a lot of times teams that get bounced in the first round wind up winning the championship the next year because they're refreshed, they're ready to go, they're done in April. There's nothing really else for them to do. And if you look at the Celtics the past few years, they've been in the conference finals and the finals since 2022. So they've had these short turnarounds every single season. And I think it's finally starting to catch up to them now that they're all a little bit older. But I mean, specifically, I want to talk about the stretch from January 5th to January 20th, not counting the game against the Warriors because the Warriors are butt juice right now. So that game just kind of inflates the stats. So let's talk about that specific stretch. They were 3-4 in those 7 games. In those 7 games, they had a 110.8 offensive rating, which is 23rd in the NBA in that stretch. A humongous fall off just for one of the best offenses in the league. They still had a top 15 defense, but when you have a negative 0.9 net rating and almost -1, which is I think bottom 15 in the NBA, in that stretch alone, that's not good if you're trying to win another championship. And we've seen defending champs in the past few years play better than this. So it's a little interesting, but the recipe for the Celtics to winning is 3-pointers. And from 3 in the past 15 calendar days, they have been beyond dreadful all across the board. I mean, their attempts have gone down from about 51 to about 43, and they're 29th in that stretch in 3-point percentage at just under 30.9%.
Interesting.
And if you look at their main guys in the rotation, Peyton Pritchard, 33%.
Oh, wow.
Drew Holiday, 32%. Sam Hauser, 30%.
Wow.
Jason Tatum, 28%. Jaylen Brown, 23%. And Derek White, 19% from 3.
Wow.
That is disgusting.
Surprising.
From the Boston Celtics, a team that almost broke the 3-point record in a single game on opening night. So, and all of these guys are averaging anywhere from 4 to 9 3-point attempts per game.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue, in my opinion, for the Boston Celtics. And we're starting to see them call some audibles, I guess, as you can say. Like Jason Tatum's starting to pump fake and drive. Like I almost fainted when I saw that. I literally I was taken aback.
Yeah.
But this is pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm curious as to why has their 3-point shooting, in terms of the attempts that they're taking, why has it dropped significantly since everyone's been talking about how they're shooting so many threes?
I think it's because they're missing a lot of them.
Okay.
So
do you think it's also they're hearing the noise of the fans watching the NBA saying stop shooting so many threes? Are they hearing that, or
they don't care?
They don't care.
No.
I think this team is just gassed from last year. Also,
Is that what you get when you watch them? That's what it's giving.
I don't think they want it as much anymore. I think Tatum wants it.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown probably is a little unmotivated right now just because of not. He still probably has that Team USA thing in the back of his head.
Maybe. But that should motivate him more.
Yeah, it should.
It should, but other guys take it differently. That's
I don't know. I think Jaylen Brown's that type of guy.
Yeah.
He should be. Yeah, I would think he should use it to fire him. But Team USA has to play for another 4 years.
Well, they play in the World Cup every other year, so he'll probably be on that team. But for
Boston, if he keeps playing like this.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for Boston, it's I don't necessarily think it's that they don't want it. I just think right now,
they're just not focused.
They're just not focused because, I mean, can you blame them really? Going into the season, there was no one, and I mean no one on their level in the Eastern Conference. They could have just coasted through the regular season and easily just walked to the finals. When all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Cleveland pops up and just goes on an absolute tear. Now you got some competition. You got Orlando heating up. You got Indiana heating up. The Knicks are kind of there and then not there. It really depends on what they want to be. Same with Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So really you now have anywhere from 3 to 6 teams that have gotten a lot better. Even Detroit's gotten significantly better. So they're a team that could easily, if Boston's not focused, they could easily get caught off guard in a playoff series, especially if they're just going to jack up all these threes. So I think you're starting to see them kind of lose focus of their goal. They have to understand the assignment. And right now they're not.
What do you think about how? Because when you're focused for an extended period of time, it starts to dwindle a little bit. Your focus starts to dwindle. That's just naturally how it happens.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Maybe they're in that mid-season, just sort of going through emotions, and then towards the end of the season, they start to ramp things up again, lock it back in again, so they're ready for the playoffs. Do you think that's something that you can intentionally do?
I think so.
Okay. Do you think that they're doing that?
Well, here I'll kind of compare it to what Denver did in 2023. The West was not as good as it was, like in the same position as the East, because in 2023 the East was the superior conference. I believe the top 4 seeds had a better record than the entire West, but Denver was playing great. They had the 1 seed throughout the entire season, and then they kind of locked that up early, and then they started losing focus, kind of tanking games they shouldn't have. I know they lost to us after we traded Kevin Durant, and then a bunch of hate in the media started, like, oh, this team's not good anymore. They're a fake 1 seed. A lot of people picked the Wolves to beat them in the first round as an 8 seed, and a lot of stuff like that. And that stuff ignites you. Right. And at that point, they were healthy. They were ready to make a push at the playoffs, and they just ran through the league. So I think Boston is in an easier situation, whereas the East is a lot worse than the West was that year. And we're talking about a crisis. They're still 31-13. Like, that's still a ridiculous record. But when you see signs like this, a hangover is possible, which means they could easily drop a playoff series, which in turn puts the East wide open. Hence why I still think the Pacers can make the finals for that very reason alone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of think of it like a staring contest, where right now the Boston Celtics are at that point where their eyes are starting to water from being open so long.
Okay.
They're trying not to close it.
Yeah.
Because once you close it, then it's done.
Well, I think they need to blink. So, and I think that's what this is. They need to blink. This is their blink, right?
Yep.
They're resetting, and then once you blink, you get reset, and then they turn it back on. They can lock back in again. So
exactly,
I think this right here is their little blink season.
That may have been the best. That may have been the best counter analogy I've ever heard. That was good.